What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup Season 6, Episode 8, Wife or Warden. Let's talk about Julius and Alexis. So their segment starts off with them at Alexis's apartment, and she is telling Julius that she needs financial help. So she mentions to him that there's some type of a delivery job that he can try to apply for. Maybe she knows somebody who can get him in real quick. And he says to us that he's not interested in a regular 9 to 5. He says he likes fast money, he likes quick money, and working a regular 9 to 5 is just not for him because once you get the taste of that fast life, and once you get that taste of making a whole bunch of money in a really short amount of time, you can't go back to a 9 to 5. There's just no way he can do it. So we find out that Julius has dreams and aspirations of becoming a rapper. He wants to be the next Jay-Z, y'all. I don't know what he's doing towards that, towards making that happen, becoming the next Jay-Z, but I see him on TikTok a lot going live. In fact, I just saw a live of him either today or yesterday. I kind of dipped in for a couple of seconds into the live and I was reading the comments, and somebody asked in that comment, is it true that you kissed my brother when you were in prison? That was a comment that had popped up in his live. Now, of course, he didn't address it. So it makes me think back to when people were speculating that he was probably sleeping with other inmates because he had said it had been so many years since he's been with a woman, not just that it's been so many years since he's had sex at all, just so many years since he's been with a woman. And then when I saw that comment, I was like, are we developing a theme here with Julius? I don't know, y'all. I'm just letting y'all know what I saw. So I don't really see him on his page, producing music or releasing music. So I don't know exactly what he's doing to make this happen, becoming the next big rap star. But that's what he wants to do. So he's off to the studio. He takes her car once again because he took her car to go see Ashley, didn't he? Or did he take an Uber to go see Ashley? But anyway, he takes her car to supposedly go to the studio to lay down some beats. So Alexis she had put an air tag in her car to track him because he refused to share locations. And so she did the next best thing, which was to put an air tag in her car. So she calls her friend after he leaves. Alexis calls her friend and they're talking about her not feeling well and that she's been really nauseous lately. There's been no period in sight. It's been a while since her last period came along. So obviously, the speculation is that she could possibly be pregnant. And which is really funny to me because right before, when the episode first started, they showed us the clip where Julius was bragging about how his pullout game is so damn strong. But here we are with Alexis possibly being pregnant. It just boggles my mind how these people think. Like, as soon as somebody comes out of prison, they're ready to start making babies. They're ready to try to get married. They're ready to do all these things when the person who just came out of prison has done nothing to get themselves back together again. They haven't entered rehab if that's what they need. They're not going on job interviews. They're not trying to do anything except make babies and lay down next to somebody. So so Alexis and her friend are talking about how she's not feeling well, she's nauseous, whatever. So the friend comes over with a couple of pregnancy tests. So Alexis ends up taking both tests and both come up positive. So the girl is pregnant. Her friend asked her, how do you feel about it? Because her friend was looking at her like, oh, my friend just landed in a whole bunch of poo poo. But Alexa says she's happy. She says she's happy. She's excited. She talks about how having a baby was going to help with the loneliness and that she was going to have somebody love her forever. Or she was going to have unconditional love from her child. Now, anybody with any ounce of sense knows that you do not have children to fill up your loneliness or to have someone love you, because that's just putting too much of a burden on a child. Your child is not supposed to fix your problems in that way. You're supposed to heal your loneliness with just basically enjoying yourself. Okay, enjoying yourself more. And the unconditional love that you're seeking It's supposed to come from within yourself. So Alexis knows nothing about that. So she wants a baby to help with all of these issues that she's having within herself, which is really, really sad. Really sad. You're looking towards a helpless little human being to fill these massive voids that you have in your own life because you're not willing to do the work to fill those voids yourself. And if you don't have enough love for yourself, I love unconditional love for yourself. How are you going to love a baby? How are you going to love somebody else? How are you going to love Julius? So that's the reason why she really wants to have a baby. So she calls Julius because she wants to tell him about the pregnancy news, but the call goes straight to voicemail. So now she's stressed out, trying to figure out where is he? Why isn't he answering his phone? So because she has the AirTag in the car, she's able to track his phone, and she finds out that he's hanging out at some store. So her and her friend hop in her friend's car. Yeah, hop in her friend's car because she ain't got no car because Julius has her car. So they drive up to the store, they drive up to the parking lot, and Julius is just coming out of her car with a friend, like some guy, and two girls. And so Alexis jumps out the car, walks up to him, and she's like, "Who are these girls?" And that's where their segment ended. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to speculate because I speculated about somebody else on this show and I was dead wrong. So I'm not going to speculate with what's going on here because, of course, they want you to think, the producers want you to think that she caught him red handed with another girl. But we don't know if that's what's happening. These may be his cousins. These may be his homeboys' friends, his homeboys' sisters, whoever. I don't know who these women are. We'll find out next week. But it's not looking too good for Julius and Alexis. And I really don't know. Well, I guess they're still together because of somebody spotting them at Walmart together, where Alexis was seen extremely pregnant and she was with Julius at the Walmart. So they probably are still together. I can see that Alexis has a very soft spot in her heart towards Julius because she even says that this is his first relationship, so he doesn't know how to navigate it. In a way, she was sort of like making an excuse for him if he is cheating or if he is messing up. She was making an excuse for him, like he doesn't really know what to do. His first serious relationship, like she wants to kind of give him some grace if that's what's going on here. And she has a really soft spot for this guy. So I hope it doesn't take her down to the depths of relationship hell. But who knows? We'll find out next week. Congratulations, Julius and Alexis. I don't know. Moving on to Damodrick and Quiana. So Damodrick and Quiana go to a cake decorating class. Quiana tells us that Damodrick loves chocolate and he loves strawberry. But when they get to the cake decorating class and they decorate their cakes, I didn't see no chocolate. I didn't see no strawberries on any kind of cake. So I don't know what was going on there. So while they're doing the cake decorating, his phone goes off, but he doesn't answer it. And they're talking about building trust in their relationship and how they're going to trust each other more and they're going to start all over, blah, 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 blah. So after they do the cake decoration, they go sit outside somewhere with their cakes. And when they open up the box, he had put the ring, not a ring, he had put the ring in her cake or his in his cake, because his was blue. And so he takes the ring and he forces her to lick off the icing from the ring, which I thought was really disgusting. And then he puts the ring on her finger and he tells her that this ring has been in his family for many generations. He talks about how he wants to spend the rest of his life with her and that she's the one for him. But nothing in all that he's saying, nothing, he doesn't actually propose. He's talking a good game, talking about, I love you, I want to be with you forever. You're my girl. This is it for me. You're my one and only. But he never says, will you marry me? He does put the ring on her finger. And she's telling us how she can't wait to set the date. She can't wait to look for wedding gowns. She's excited about getting married, but he never actually proposed to her. And in his confessional, the producers asked him, Damodrick, why didn't you actually propose? Why didn't you say to her, will you marry me? And Damodrick says, I don't want her to go overboard. He says, I don't want her to start making plans for a wedding like we're getting ready tomorrow. Okay, but did you tell her that? Did you let her know this is not an actual wedding proposal, even though I'm using my big mama's actual wedding ring, her engagement ring. I'm putting this on your finger, but this is not a proposal, so don't get it twisted and don't start, sending out invitations and spending a whole bunch of money on an actual wedding because I'm not proposing to you. He said this is a promise to get married, which I thought was a proposal. Isn't a proposal a promise to get? So basically, he just gave her a promise ring. He turned his big mama's engagement ring into a promise ring, like they're in high school. Basically, that's what he did. Like, why are you going through all this rigmarole, Damodrick, if you have no intentions of getting married anytime soon? Like, why would you do that? I don't understand. Or why don't you propose to her and then just set the wedding date somewhere off into the future to give y'all time to get to know each other and make preparations and do whatever y'all got to do. Like, I didn't understand DeMarco at all. I thought it was a little bit cruel for him to do this, to make her think that this was an actual proposal. I don't know if she caught that he didn't actually ask her to marry him. I don't know if she picked up on that, because she was like talking to us like she was getting ready to get married, talking about the dress and setting the date and all of that. So I don't know if she picked up on that. I know I would have. I would have been like, okay, so where's the part where you asked me to marry you? And I said yes. When's that going to happen? Moving on. Bradley and Savannah. So Bradley turns back around with Savannah's car because remember, they got into this argument about the dentist appointment. Savannah was upset that his sister made a dentist appointment for him. And so Bradley got into her car and he started driving off. His sister called him and told him, hey, Savannah thinks you're trying to steal the car, so I would advise you to just turn back around. So he turns back around. He picks her up because he had intentions of going to he has an appointment with a prison reform advocate because he wants to sue the Department of Corrections because of some stuff that was going on when he was locked up. So he thinks he may have a lawsuit. So that's where he was actually going with her car. And then when he turned back around, he picked her up. And so now they're headed to the appointment. So the reason why he feels like he might have a lawsuit, he tells the advocate that when he was in prison, they would do more strip searches on him than they would on any other inmate, that they would basically just treat him unfair and single him out. And he felt like, he was being treated unfairly and it wasn't right. And so the advocate tells him, well, they kind of can do that. They can kind of pick on you. They can single you out for certain punishments. They can do more strip searches on you than on any other inmate. They can do that because it's not fair, it's not right, but a lawsuit it doesn't make. She said if your constitutional rights were violated because they represent the government, and if they did something to violate your constitutional right, then yes, you may have a lawsuit against the Department of Corrections. So his allegations were pretty weak. So then the advocate moves on to, well, how has life been since you've been released? How are things going with the two of y'all, basically? And Bradley talks about how controlling Savannah is. And so then the advocate says that, when someone gets released from prison, they just came from an institution where they had to follow a whole bunch of rules, where they were being told what to do, how to do it, when and where to do it. And so when they come out, they do deserve to have a little bit of freedom and independence. You don't jump from the frying pan into the fire, and that's what's going on here. And so she tells Savannah that you may need to kind of lay back a little bit, allow him to breathe, allow him to have some independence, and you don't want to be his warden, on the outside, because he just got done with that life. And so Bradley was like, hey, I like you. I like you a lot. I like what you're saying. I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down. And Savannah, if looks could kill, that advocate would have dropped dead right then and there because she was just shooting daggers at that woman. So when they get back in the car, Savannah's like, so what the hell was that all about? I thought she was supposed to talk about your lawsuit, but she's talking about our personal business. And, she your therapist or something? Was this some type of a therapy session, couples counseling that I didn't know about? And Bradley was like, she was dropping some knowledge. She was dropping some really good knowledge. You didn't like her advice? So as they're driving along, he tells her that he does feel suffocated. And then he suggests that maybe they need some space right now. And so Savannah was like, you know what? you don't got to tell me twice if you don't want to be with me. You don't got to tell me twice. So he drives to his father's house. I thought they were going back to Savannah's house, but he drives to his father's house and he was like, okay, that's why I'm going to my dad's house. That's where I'm going to be staying. So they get to the dad's house. He hops out of the car. I think the car was still moving. He hopped out of that car so damn fast. Savannah drives off. She's crying. She's talking to his sister on the phone. She's telling his sister what happened. He's talking about he wants space. He's feeling suffocated. And so the sister really didn't say anything wrong with that. She was like, okay, just be patient with him. And then Savannah says, well, you know what? His Xbox is still at my house. I don't know what she meant by that. I don't know if she means that that's going to lure him back to her. He's going to come back for his Xbox. So she's going to try to convince him for them to try to get back together. Or is she implying that she's going to destroy it or sell it or get rid of it so he doesn't have it anymore? I didn't understand that. But I always felt like Bradley was not really into Savannah. Even when they were on Love During Lockup with their phone calls, Savannah was so excited about Bradley coming home, and Bradley did not reciprocate the same level of excitement about seeing Savannah. And then when he came home, I felt like he was kind of like very lukewarm towards her. Their very first night together, Savannah couldn't wait for them to have sex. And Bradley kind of was like, he could take it or leave it. It was whatever with him. So I've always felt like Bradley really wasn't into Savannah. Moving on. Michael and Joey. So I got, y'all. I got. Cookie got by Michael because in last week's episode, Michael was running late to meet up with Joey because we're supposed to go meet Joey's family. So when he finally showed up at the hotel lobby where Joey was waiting for him, Michael told Joey that he was late because he had to take a urine analysis and he failed. And so I was like, in my review, I was like, of course he failed. Of course he's back on drugs. Well, Michael said he was just joking. He did not fail his UA. He actually passed it. And he said this is the very first time ever in his life that he had a clean UA. So I got. He got me. I was wrong. So they finally go to Joey's family's house. Now, Joey's family consists of his mother, his father, his brother. And both his brother and his father are recovering addicts. So they take recovery very, very seriously. So as they're sitting there having dinner, the conversation definitely goes to Michael. What are your plans with Joey? What are your plans with your own rehab? Where are we with that? And Michael gave all the wrong answers. And I think he did it on purpose. I think Michael was purposely trying to sabotage this meeting so that the family wouldn't feel comfortable with him being with Joey, so that the family could convince Joey to leave Michael. Because I don't think Michael wants to stay with Joey. I don't think he sees this as a long-term relationship. I think Michael is already bored with Joey. So he tells the family, I don't know what my plan is. I don't know. And so he says, my old friends, the people that he would get in trouble with, he's like, I'm not willing to let them go. He says, that's my family. Those are my family, and I don't plan on letting them go. And I think one of the things that you do when you are in recovery, if you're serious about it, is you got to let that old lifestyle go. The people that you used to hang out with, people that you used to drink and drug with, you can't hang out with those people anymore. You have to cut them off cold turkey. And Michael tells Joey's family that he has no intentions of cutting them off because he said they're like my family. And they talk about, and then Joey says, well, don't you just want to get a fresh start and start all over? And Michael's like, no, I have no interest on starting over. So the family tells Michael that Joey almost died during his last relapse. He almost died. They almost lost him. To let Michael know how serious it is that Joey stays off of drugs and that he has to be a positive influence on Joey. He cannot suck Joey back into that lifestyle. And Michael knows this. He understands. Michael probably, I don't know if he wants to get clean or not in real life, but he doesn't want the family to think that he's trying to get clean because he doesn't want to be with Joey. And I think he wants to use the family as a tool to convince Joey to not be with him. So Joey's brother tells us that he thinks that Michael is on a one-way trip to drugland, on a one-way trip to relapsing. And the family is very worried about Michael's influence on Joey because they see how much Joey loves Michael. They think that Joey himself is definitely ready for a long-term relationship. They don't think that Michael is. There is a scene where Michael is not Michael, where Joey's in the kitchen talking to his mother. And his mother tells him, I see a lot of myself in you. And she tells Michael that I lost myself because I wanted to be with your father so bad. And, the father was an addict. And she says, I don't want you to lose yourself in this relationship with Michael. And the mother starts crying because she sees the writing on the wall that Joey is so smitten by Michael that he probably most likely will get sucked back into that lifestyle if he stay. He will do anything, it seems like, to be with Michael. And the mother sees this, and the mother's like, I'm so worried about you. And she starts crying, and she's like hugging on her son. And it was a really sad scene. Michael has snuck off somewhere, and he's called one of his friends, one of his druggy friends, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm over here at Joey's house with the family, and this is just torture." And the friend says, "Yeah, because they're so boring. They're so boring, like Joey." And Michael's like, "No, it's because it's like having 5 or 6 Joeys. They're all talking about rehab. This is a very rehab rich family. They're all about rehab, and that's all they talk about is just rehab. And I don't want to hear that." And so he makes plans with this druggy friend to meet with them later on that night. Not to be with Joey, but to be back with a friend that was up to no good back in the day. And he wants to spend time with that person again. Good luck to all of that. Moving on to Brian and Brooklyn. So we see more footage of how much Brooklyn's daughter, Elani, loves Brian. And like I said, she calls Brian her bestie. She's telling us how Brian helps her with her homework. And we see scenes where Brian is telling her, I love you. She's telling him, I love you. This is what my personal opinion is. This man has been locked up, I think, for 6 years. This child looks to be about no older than 8. Okay. So I don't know exactly when, where, and how Brooklyn's daughter developed such a strong connection to Brian, but I don't think she necessarily has a strong connection with Brian. I think that this girl is very desperate for a father figure. And because Brian happens to be in her mother's life, she's clinging on to him because she's so desperate to have a daddy around. That's what I'm thinking. But she has an uncle and she has a grandfather. So I don't know why she can't get what she's seeking from them, because I'm not understanding how they were able to develop this really strong connection when this man's been locked up for, I think, 6 years or something. I could be wrong. Anywho, so Brian tells us that he's got exactly 2 weeks to get a job or he's going to be back at the halfway house. He doesn't have any job interview clothes, so he wants to go to the store and get some clothes for an interview, for a possible job, etc. So his friend Adrian comes over to take him. And Brooklyn tells Brian, hey, why don't you invite your friend inside so I can meet him? And Brian doesn't want to hear that. He's like, no, we're not going to do that. So Brian leaves, hops into the car with his friend Adrian. Brooklyn comes running after them, and she's like knocking on the driver's side window. Adrian rolls the window down like, what's up? And Brooklyn is like, well, he needs to be home by 8 o'clock. He's on a curfew. He's got an ankle monitor. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't go here. Don't go there. And Adrian's like, look, I'm spending time with my boy. This is our time. This is boys' time. We're hanging out. We're spending time. We're going to be doing our thing. So we ain't trying to hear nothing that you got going on. What you got going on with him in that house, that's between y'all. But when he's here with me, we got other things going on. And Brooklyn's like, no, what me and him got going on in the house, it trickles over to whenever he's with you as well. Okay, the rules still apply. So she's just nagging, listing off all the do's and don'ts, and they don't want to hear none of it. So they roll up the window. They ain't trying to hear none of that. So they drive off, and it don't take no time for Adrian to start like questioning Brian about like, what do you really have going on with this girl? And Brian's like, well, that's my girl and I want to be with her, blah, blah, blah. And Adrian tells him, you just got out of prison after doing 6 years. You don't know what's out there. He goes, there's so much BBL, fake bootiness going on these streets. You need to check all of that out first before you make the decision that you want to settle down with Brooklyn. You need to explore your options, keep your damn doors open. You don't know what's going. He's like, the BBL Don't talk about BBLs. He's like, the BBL epidemic has blown up. It's booming. Okay, you don't know what you've been missing out on, and you need to get a taste of that first. So after they're done shopping, he takes poor Brian to the dollhouse strip club. I don't know if they actually go inside because I'm not trying to get got again and just assume things. So I don't know what's going to happen next week. Brian might be like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable. I feel very triggered being so close to a strip club. Can you please take me back home to my woman? I don't know what's going to go down. We won't know until next week. But yeah, and by the way, Adrian calls Brooklyn the warden because she's so, strict and controlling about Brian's actions. So at 2:30, Brooklyn is calling him and she's like, when are you going to be home? And he's like, I'm going to be home when I get home. And Brooklyn's like, we got to be home by 3:00. And he's like, I know that it's only 2:30. So they kind of start bickering back and forth. He's basically like, leave me the hell alone. I'm grown. I know what I need to do. I know what I got going on with my curfew. Just leave me alone. So we'll see if he's going to walk into the dollhouse and get some of that BBL action. Will and Courtney. So where we left off was at their wedding ceremony. Will had just said his vows, and so we're waiting to see if Courtney is going to say I do as well. Well, she does. So they're married now. They're officially married. Instead of exchanging rings, they exchanged scrunchies. I don't understand why. I'm not understanding why Will couldn't have gone to like Walmart or something and picked up some cheap rings, but whatever. So they are officially married and on their way from the wedding venue because they're driving to take her mother back to the airport. Because while they were driving, Will had to swerve to avoid hitting the car in front of him. So this prompted Courtney to tell a story about how when she was dating this guy, before she got locked up, they got into a really bad accident and the dude just left her for dead. Just basically left her for dead. And she was really injured pretty bad. She had a nasty, nasty gash on her forehead and it left a permanent scar that she's going to have for the rest of her life. So this leads her to talk about trust and how she needs to, like, whoever she's with, she really needs to feel like that there's trust between them because that guy proved to her that you can't trust nobody. Okay, fine. So the mom, is able to make her flight and she leaves to go back home. Will has to return Courtney back to the halfway house after they just got married, so they can't spend any time together after getting married. And when he gets back to his hotel, he calls her to check on her, and she sounds drunk or high, and he really didn't like that. So the next day, he picks her from the halfway house because he's got plans for her or plans for them. He picks her up and he addresses her. He's like, when I called you last night, you didn't sound like you were in your right state of mind. So I don't know what was going on. And so she gets offended. Like, well, if you thought that I was taking something, why didn't you address it right then and there when we were on the phone with one another? Why are you waiting until the day after to bring it up? And he was like, well, I didn't want to sound accusatory. And Courtney says, well, I feel like you are being accusatory. You are accusing me of doing something that I didn't do because she denies that she was drunk or high. And so Will is like, well, if you said that you didn't do anything, I'm just going to have to believe you. And she's like, of course. She's like, this is what I'm trying to avoid, the lack of trust. And if you don't trust me, I don't know why we're married. If you have no trust in me, why did you even want to marry me? So he probably felt like, man, I should have just left it alone. I should have just left it alone. So he chooses to believe her because, he doesn't want to lose her. He's sprung. Yeah, like I said, their issue is not how quickly they got married. Their issue is whether or not, Courtney is in a state of mind to be somebody's wife. Is she ready for that, to take on that responsibility of a marriage when she has yet to really do anything to clean herself up because she just got out of prison. Boom, she's married. Even though they got married just so that they can cross state lines, it's still a marriage. And I'm pretty sure Will is still expecting her to act as a wife. And that comes with a lot of responsibilities that I don't know if Courtney is ready for. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me. I truly do appreciate it on your way out. Please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content. Please subscribe to my channel and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.